Today I will show you a comedy, romance film from 2021, titled Sweet and Sour. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. In the city of Incheon, Jang Hyuk, a fat man that has recently been gotten a permanent position as an engineer, is hospitalized with hepatitis B. It's a disease that can only be passed on through fluids, not by breathing the same air, but his parents still only visit him once and don't stay long because of fear of catching it. Jang Hyuk's friends don't visit him either, they only send texts, and the other patients in the room also try to stay away from him, always asking the doctors and nurses to keep the curtain close around him. Not everything is terrible, however. It's at this hospital that Jang Hyuk meets Dae-yoon, a nurse that is always gentle with him and even wishes him luck by dropping a kiss on his forebag. One evening, Jang Hyuk leaves the room to wander around the hospital and finds Dae-yoon by the stairs, smoking a cigarette. He notices she has a ring on her finger, but she tells him it's just her graduation ring. She also tells him he's lucky to have a permanent position at his job, unlike her, who is on a contract and they work her like a dog in 2 long shifts. She's always tired and that's why she's currently smoking, to try to stay awake. Their chat is suddenly interrupted by the very strict head nurse, who comments on the smoking, so Dae-yoon pretends the cigarette is Jang Hyuk's and scolds him for it before fleeing. The next morning, she comes by to thank him for helping her lie, otherwise she would have gotten in trouble. Strangely, she starts stealing food off his plate, which he doesn't mind, but she still freaks out about it when she notices what she's doing. Dae-yoon apologizes before leaving, but not without warning the other patients not to bully Dae-yoon. Later in the evening, they share a drink by the vending machine, and when Dae-yoon comes by his bed to check on him, she's so tired that she sleeps some seconds next to him. Dae-yoon's tiredness gets worse when she quits coffee and smoking, even scolding Jang Hyuk when she finds him with a cigarette and stomping on the pack. Seeing as she's so stressed, Jang Hyuk begins helping her have a better time at the hospital. He leaves support messages on the screen of his phone, steals his roommate's expensive food to share with her, leaves her a spot on his bed for her to nap and wakes her up before she can be discovered, pretends not to feel well so she can take him out for air in a wheelchair, and they change places later. Dae-yoon is very sweet to him in return, even putting stickers on his bandages, but one afternoon when he says there's no freaking way he has a girlfriend, Dae-yoon storms off, saying she doesn't like it when guys talk that way. There's also the issue of her not wanting her coworkers to know about their growing friendship, so when Jang Hyuk tries to talk to her when she's with the other nurses or doctors, she ignores him. A few days later, the doctors say Jang Hyuk is finally healthy enough to return home, and he gets sad because he won't see Dae-yoon again. The night before leaving, he steals some flowers that were sent to a dead patient and waits for Dae-yoon to give them to her, but the one to do his evening checkup ends up being the head nurse. On his final day at the hospital, he wants to say goodbye to her but he doesn't find her, and he ignores his parents when they come to pick him up. When he goes out for dinner with his friends, they tell him the nurse must have been a hallucination, but Dae-yoon doesn't give up. He goes back to the hospital and when he doesn't find her there, he tries to get her phone number from her file, but only gets to memorize half of it before he gets caught. At home, he tries a bunch of phone numbers that start with the ones he remembers and gets lots of wrong answers until he finally uses the right combination and Dae-yoon picks up his call. She explains she took some days off because she wasn't feeling well and that's why he didn't see her at the hospital. So now that he knows she hasn't been ignoring him, Jang Hyuk tells her he likes her, to which Dae-yoon responds by inviting him to come to her apartment. By driving his dad's car, Jang Hyuk quickly arrives at her place and they have a very awkward conversation before Dae-yoon invites him to stay the night since she feels lonely. They sleep while cuddling, and in the morning, she wakes up to find Jang Hyuk has changed the light bulb and prepared breakfast. So much kindness makes her cry, and she thanks Jang Hyuk by pecking his lips, stopping him from making it deeper when he tries by explaining it's not like that. Since then, they start hanging out together. He takes food to the hospital so she can have a snack, picks her up after work using his father's car and gets jealous of the other fatties she hangs out with, takes out the trash at her apartment, and just offers his company when she's feeling stressed. One day during lunch, he can't help noticing she's missing her ring, but she just says she lost it. He also tells her that once he gets his own place, she should quit her job since it stresses her so much, but she only replies with a hug. Some days later, someone Dae-yoon knows gifts her a vacation package to Jeju and she invites Jang Hyuk to come with her, which he obviously accepts. When they go out shopping, they try to get matching shirts, but they're too small for Jang Hyuk, which makes him jealous of the couples that can wear them. They also stop by the macaron stand, whose clerk gives Dae-yoon a discount for having come before, but Jang Hyuk doesn't eat any because now he's feeling bad about his weight. The day of the vacation finally comes and Dae-yoon is waiting for him by the airport entrance. Jang Hyuk stops the taxi just in time and runs toward her as she waves at him. Dae-yoon has a surprise for him, a pair of sneakers, which match hers, although she denies they are to replace the matching shirts. Jang Hyuk puts them on and promises he'll use them to lose weight for her, then runs around a little bit to prove it. We suddenly cut to Jang Hyuk running in the park, showing him skinny and healthy. When he goes back to Dae-yoon's apartment where they live together, he makes breakfast for both of them before leaving for work, taking out the trash on the way out. At the office, his work tells him he's being sent to a large corporation under a temporary contract, and if he does well, he may be hired permanently. This is an amazing opportunity for him, but the other company is in Seoul, which isn't exactly near Incheon. He tells this to Daeun over lunch, but they can't finish discussing it because the other nurses arrive and she doesn't want to be seen with him, especially when the nurses think he looks familiar. Some days later, Jang Hyuk goes to pick Daeun at work, getting jealous of her fat coworker. He introduces her to the new car he's bought and promises he'll travel back and forth from Seoul every day so their lives don't have to change. He also gives her a new ring to replace the graduation one she lost. On his first morning trip to work, Jang Hyuk laughs at the other men stuck with him in traffic, thinking they're stupid for not having woken up early like he does. When he arrives at the office and is introduced to the bosses, he discovers he isn't the only new worker under contract on the team. There's also Bo Young, a very competitive woman that doesn't seem to like him very much. During lunch, the permanent team doesn't invite them to go with them, and Jang Hyuk is stuck with her. As soon as he gets home, he begins complaining about Bo Young to Daeun, who tells him he just needs to try a bit harder to impress his coworkers. The following day, Jang Hyuk brings coffee for everyone, but under the excuse of helping him, Bo Young gives the cup to each coworker and doesn't give Jang Hyuk any credit for it. She also tells him he's working on the wrong assignment, which is a lie, and because he switches to another part of the project he gets scolded for it. Later that night, he complains about her again to Daeun, not letting her tell him about her own day and making her do all the planning for their upcoming trip to Jeju. When the time comes to present their project to their bosses, Bo Young takes all the credit for the idea, but Jang Hyuk takes the chance to cut in and say there's a design problem that will cause the bridge to collapse. From then on, he teases her for all the extra work she has to do to fix it, enjoying the way she becomes a mess under the stress and how he can leave early while she stays doing extra hours. Jang Hyuk is still tired though, so when he arrives at the apartment after such a long trip, he barely gets to tell Daeun hello before falling asleep. The next morning, he doesn't get to see her because she leaves before he does, so later on the phone, they agree that commuting is stressful and complicated. So from now on, if he leaves work late, Jang Hyuk will stay at the place he's renting in Seoul and only travel back during the weekends. Bo Young becomes a bigger and bigger mess every day. She stays in the office overnight, keeps falling asleep during work hours, overeats, and since she can't wash, her clothes have tons of stains, her hair has crumbs and she stinks. When Jang Hyuk tells her she shouldn't eat so much at work, Bo Young finally has a breakdown and begins crying as she explains she eats to stay awake because she must finish the work he ruined for her. Jang Hyuk begins to feel pity for her, so he decides to stay the night and help her finish the project, not noticing Daeun's texts asking him if he's still coming over tomorrow. The next day, they present the finished project to their bosses, who congratulate them for it and tell the permanent team they should learn from it. After work, they go to a restaurant to celebrate, where Jang Hyuk avoids drinking because of his injured liver. After telling Daeun he'll go home when they're done with the company dinner, he keeps an eye on Bo Young, who keeps getting drunk. By the time he makes it home, it's incredibly late, and Daeun is not there. She was called by the hospital to cover another nurse's shift and will work all night. Daeun apologizes for not seeing him, and before hanging up, she asks him to change the light bulb. Jang Hyuk, however, falls asleep and leaves for work the next day without doing the change. At the office, their boss congratulates him and Bo Young for being a good team and gives them a new project for them to work together on, which they don't mind because now they're getting along pretty well. Jang Hyuk begins staying late, working extra hours with Bo Young and developing a connection with her, but also canceling on Daeun often, so they see each other less and less every week, sometimes almost never. This frustrates Daeun, who has something very important to tell him in person and has been postponing it for a while. The second project is a success and Jang Hyuk and Bo Young go to catch dinner together to celebrate. Daeun, who has been waiting for his boyfriend as he had promised, calls him to know where he is, so Jang Hyuk lies to her and tells her he needs to stay working late again. This time, Jang Hyuk does accept to drink. One evening, Bo Young tries to flirt with him, and this is the final kick Jang Hyuk needs to return home. As soon as he enters the apartment, he finds a bunch of trash bags in the hallway, and Daeun asks him to take them out and to change the light bulb. This causes an argument to begin about how they're both too tired and the other should be helping. Daeun thinks Jang Hyuk only comes over to rest, and Jang Hyuk thinks Daeun is being self-centered. Suddenly, Daeun confesses the important thing she wanted to tell him: she hasn't gotten her period. So Jang Hyuk uses the excuse of taking out the trash to be outside while he freaks out at the idea of being a father. The next day, he's too distracted by this to think properly, and after Daeun calls him to tell him the doctor confirms she's 4 weeks pregnant, he gets in such a bad mood that he yells at Bo Young without meaning to, but at least he apologizes to her. He isn't there for their next presentation. He decides to be responsible, so he takes a day off to go to the OB/GYN with Daeun, who acts awkwardly when she's filing the paperwork with the name of the baby's guardian. Then, she asks him to wait for her outside, claiming she can handle it alone because she's a nurse. When she's done, he gives her a tight hug, but when they go home to cuddle, he keeps getting calls and texts from work. He ignores them because he wants to stay with her, but tired of hearing the phone, Daeun tells him to go. At least this time Jang Hyuk remembers to text her while he's away, and when the work hours are over, he doesn't stay extra hours with Bo Young, he leaves on time to be there with Daeun. Jang Hyuk begins commuting between Incheon and Seoul every day, and this quickly takes a toll on him. He's so tired, he goes to bed early and barely spends time with Dae-yoon anyway, and keeps falling asleep at the office too. He begins being the same kind of guy getting ready in his car he used to make fun of and arrives late at work when he oversleeps, earning him a scolding. One evening, Bo-young points out they're falling back on their new project because he leaves early and convinces him to stay over, so Jang-hyuk once again starts going back home fewer and fewer days. When he finally goes out with Dae-yoon during a weekend, he spends their whole walk complaining about how he is tired, how he wants to go home, and telling Dae-yoon to shop faster, not even letting her stay for long at the macaron stand she wanted to try so badly. As they go back to the car, he tells her to buy things online because it's faster, and Dae-yoon starts crying, explaining she came to the market to spend time with him not because she actually needed to shop. He makes it sound like spending time with her is exhausting, while she's also tired from work and still makes the effort. Jang-hyuk apologizes and accidentally calls her Bo-young before driving away without noticing what he did. Hurt, Dae-yoon asks him to pull over, but Jang-hyuk misunderstands her and thinks he wants her to enter the fast food drive-thru. They end up arguing in front of the clerk. Dae-yoon thinks he's cheating on her, and Jang-hyuk gets offended by such an accusation, so he admits he's been coming over because he felt bad for her. Dae-yoon admits then that she's terminated the pregnancy, and Jang-hyuk says him not caring about the baby and reaching this point is both their faults. They drive away without grabbing the food, and after dropping Dae-yoon at her place, Jang-hyuk returns to Seoul to start living in the apartment he rents there. The next day, the ring he had bought for Dae-yoon arrives in the mail and decides to hide it in his pencil holder. One evening, he isn't able to take it anymore and kisses Bo-young, which is the start of a relationship with her. They work together and spend leisure time together too, but Jang-hyuk can't help getting distracted every time he sees a nurse uniform on the streets or shops. One afternoon, he's shocked to get a message from the travel company confirming his tickets to Jeju. He sends a text to Dae-yoon to tell her she can use them and take whoever she wants, and can't help noticing she's never changed her profile pictures, which says Dae-yoon loves Jang-hyuk. He can't stop thinking about her after that, especially when he gets a message that confirms the tickets have been reserved, so he's very distracted at work. During the final meeting of the year, the permanent team gets all the credit for their work and neither Jang-hyuk nor Bo-young gets a position for the future. Afterward, they go to the company's party, where Jang-hyuk thinks he may go back to his old job in Incheon, and Bo-young mentions she will study abroad. Now that he is losing Bo-young too, Jang-hyuk thinks about Dae-yoon, and when he checks her profile, he notices it says she's leaving to spend Christmas at Jeju. Deciding he must have a chance if she is still going through with the trip they planned, Jang-hyuk rescues the ring from his office and takes a cab to the airport, where he stops the taxi just in time as Dae-yoon waves, just like the beginning of the story. When he comes out of the car, however, he bumps into another man, the fat Jang-hyuk that had hepatitis B and is now testing the sneakers. It turns out skinny Jang-hyuk and fat Jang-hyuk aren't the same person. Dae-yoon met skinny Jang-hyuk almost 2 years before the other one, and she also bonded with him when he was admitted to her hospital with a broken leg. They started seeing each other. Dae-yoon also put stickers on his leg cast, bought for him the same matching sneakers and went to Jeju with him for Christmas. Skinny Jang-hyuk even moved to her apartment too. When he started being distant towards her, she found comfort in fat Jang-hyuk's kindness, especially since later he would do all the things skinny Jang-hyuk wouldn't, like changing the light bulb. Her pregnancy was the reason why she was so tired and napping with him, also why she quit coffee and smoking, and why she would steal food from fat Jang-hyuk's plate. The nights she spent at the hospital while skinny Jang-hyuk was away were spent with fat Jang-hyuk, and it was fat Jang-hyuk's name that she wrote as the baby's guardian. After she broke up with skinny Jang-hyuk, she removed her ring on purpose, and then told fat Jang-hyuk that she lost it. When skinny Jang-hyuk told her she could have the tickets, she used the chance to invite fat Jang-hyuk to go with her instead. Back in the present, Dae-yoon checks on fat Jang-hyuk and helps him stand up. She does see skinny Jang-hyuk but totally ignores him, walking into the airport to leave with her friend without a word. Furious, skinny Jang-hyuk insults her and kicks a trash can before going back to the company party, only to discover Bo-young has won a Jeju vacation for two. Overwhelmed by the irony, Jang-hyuk decides all this mess is his old boss's fault for having him sent here, then takes out the ring and proposes to Bo-young as he tells her he loves her. Bo-young turns him down, saying she's not quite there yet, and Jang-hyuk spends the rest of the night drinking. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.